Hi, I'm Katie Calkin, Community Health Educator with Piedmont Athens Regional. Welcome back to session 3 of Courage to Quit. Here's my contact information. If we haven't already been in touch, I can send you a booklet that goes with each video that spells out all the information so you don't have to remember, and we can work together on your quit plan and other action steps. So in session 3 today, we'll talk about nicotine and stress, our stress response and how nicotine affects that, positive coping for stress management, ways we can improve our communication and self-talk for improved stress management. As always, action step. And again, I can help you with that if you'd like to be in touch. And then a guided relaxation, and we'll do a different technique than we have the first 2 sessions for that. So the reason why stress management matters when you're quitting is that when we're in a negative mental state, it impairs our ability to regulate ourselves, both stopping something that we want to quit and starting a new habit. So the frontal cortex of the brain, that executive function that we've mentioned before, does not work as well when you are in stressful state. So it's really hard to stick with your goals. So stress management is super important part of your quit plan. When you're stressed, your brain favors solutions to immediate problems rather than focusing on the long-term goals. Again, it's that frontal cortex that focuses on long-term goals. And the reward center of the brain is just looking for relief in the short term when you're under stress. And nicotine can feel like an old friend, a very familiar solution, and it does provide a little sensation of relief in the moment. So if you're not managing stress well, even if you're having a really tough time, sometimes we have really intense, big struggles, big suffering in life. But if we're not taking care of ourselves in the midst of that, then it's really easy to use nicotine. It's more challenging for us to create feelings of safety and comfort with our new habits if we're feeling overwhelmed. So that discomfort and awkwardness that we have when we're starting the new habits, that life work of quitting, that can be even more challenging if we have unmanaged stress. Stress, as I've mentioned before, is the most common reason why people don't quit or go back to using nicotine even after significant amounts of being quit. So all of these things are just to reinforce it's really important that you include stress management as part of your quit plan. We'll talk about some things today, and then we'll bring up some more techniques in session 4. So one thing that can help is think about what relief you get from using nicotine. That is a habit and a ritual that you could keep even when you get rid of the nicotine. So sometimes when people are stressed and they go on a smoke, vape, chewing break, they're getting a break from work. So you can still get a break from work in different ways without using nicotine. Sometimes it's a reward for finishing something. Sometimes it's alone time that's refreshing. Sometimes it's social time, connecting with other people who are using nicotine. Sometimes just a mental distraction. It's something to do to disconnect from what you're worrying about for a little bit. Sometimes it is deep breath, especially if you smoke or vape. Sometimes you might be taking shallow breaths that we tend to do when we are stressed. And then when you smoke or vape, you start taking those deeper breaths. Those are soothing all by themselves. So you can keep that while you get rid of the nicotine. So it can help to think about this. What part of the rituals around stress, when you use nicotine, can you keep when you get rid of using the smoke, vape, or the chewing? So you want to keep the healthy part. So our stress response, as you've probably heard, fight, flight, or freeze, adrenaline, cortisol, gear us up to protect ourselves, to run away from something, or to freeze and hope that we're okay. And so our blood sugar increases, blood pressure, heart rate, our breathing becomes more shallow, our attention focuses on what we're worried about. These things are fine short term and once in a while, but if we're staying stressed out all the time, this does a lot of damage to our mental, emotional, and physical selves. Nicotine physiologically, so in your body, it actually increases the stress response. Adrenaline, if you'll remember, is one of the things that gives you energy and focus when you use nicotine. That's a stress hormone. So it is not actually helping your body deal with stress. It's increasing the stress response. But nicotine kind of masks that. It kind of covers up that it's increasing the stress response because it also is releasing some dopamine that's giving you a mood lift. So you want to do things that give you the mood lift without the nicotine increasing the stress response. So a lot of times, once people have practiced different ways of dealing with stress and have become comfortable with our new ways of coping, they say that they're able to handle stress better than when they used nicotine, and that was not something that they predicted. And just a reminder that chronic stress keeps our alarm response triggered. It's really hard to quit nicotine if you're staying in that triggered state all the time. So sometimes people identify that they need the support of a counselor as part of a foundation for quitting nicotine, that they really need to work on creating a safe, comfortable coping mechanisms in their life so that they have a solid foundation from which to quit nicotine. So keep that in mind if that comes up for you. That can be a real wise choice to seek out the help of a professional counselor. So one thing to think about when you're looking at stress is, can you problem solve around it? So you want to know your stress triggers. Some things you know off the bat, they're top of mind, but there might be subtler things that you have more control over that you could take a look at. Sometimes when we get rid of some of the smaller stress triggers, it just gives us more energy to deal with the bigger things in life. So know your triggers. If you can get rid of something, it's a really good thing to do in general, but especially when you're trying to quit nicotine. If you can be around your stress triggers less, that can really help. And that might be that you set a boundary in an unhealthy relationship. It might be you change your communication with someone. It might be that you're exposed less to news and politics through the media, fewer social media interactions, like keeping those more positive. Lots of different ways we can be around stress triggers less. And much of life falls into this category. We just don't have control over the stress triggers, but we can put some energy into taking care of ourselves. If we continually ruminate and kind of stay in a loop about thinking about what's stressing us out that we can't control, then we're draining our energy. So we want to spend some of that energy on self-care. When you're looking at self-care, you want to have some practices that discharge that stress energy from the body. So that adrenaline, cortisol, they hype you up. Your muscles are ready for that fight or flight. So you want to do something physical that gets rid of that energy so your body can metabolize, break down the stress hormones and release some dopamine when you do exercise. It can be formal exercise, could be something like hobbies, gardening, dancing, even cooking, cleaning, where you're moving your body helps to discharge that stress energy. And then you want to have some practices that help you soothe and settle. So you've gotten rid of that excess stress energy of adrenaline. Now you really want to invite the endorphins in to help you calm and relax. And so sometimes that could be like a slower walk. It could be a hobby that you do mindfully, kind of intentionally. It could be singing, humming, could be rocking, swinging on a porch swing, something that is soothing to you. So you want to include both of those. You want to make sure you have ways to break the cycles of repetitive worry. If you're thinking the same thoughts over and over again in unproductive ways, that is exhausting. And your body thinks that it's happening right then. It thinks that you're in an immediate threat and it stays in that hyped up state. So you might have a counselor, you might journal, you might have someone you talk to who you trust, just to kind of break the cycle of ruminating in your own brain. And you want to have daily habits to keep your energy reserves full. So when we look at positive coping, some of those habits might be to make sure that you are getting enough sleep, might be to eat well, so healthy foods to support the energy, exercise, breaking down the stress hormones, releasing dopamine, helping us feel like we are resilient, that we have the resources to handle even the really hard times, connecting with positive people, enjoying simple pleasures. So making sure even in the tough times that we're doing things and having connections that feel good, getting absorbed in hobbies. So you get a break from thinking about what's worrying you and you get to do some joyful things. practicing your faith. That could be individually or in a community setting, and that can look different for everybody. Positive or realistic self-talk. We'll come back to that in a little bit. Talking with someone you trust. It's called shared stress, and it's been really well studied that when we share with someone who we really trust, we feel better, we feel more resilient, we're more likely to take positive next steps, even in hard times, even in the really painful situations, that connecting with someone we trust is helpful. Setting healthy boundaries in a relationship or with your work life can be very helpful. Improving communication, we'll come back to that a little bit. And then asking for help is often hard for people, but sometimes we need to ask for emotional support or practical support. And so recognizing those times and enlisting help can be important. So one thing to take a look at is whether this is a factor in your life, caregiving versus codependent caretaking. So if you're caregiving for someone, you're doing healthy and compassionate acts, you're providing support and assistance to someone who's in need and someone who is your responsibility. So caregivers, they still have clear boundaries and they're respecting the person that they're caregiving for. So they're not taking on other people's responsibilities. So even if it's someone who needs some caregiving, you're not trying to do everything for them. Let's say you're taking care of an elder in your life and they're able to put their own shoes on. You don't rush in and put their shoes on for them. You still let them have that agency. You still let them do the pieces of their life that they can have control over. And then caretaking is when a person takes on the role of fixer or rescuer in a relationship. Sometimes people say, I can't quit smoking. I have so much stress because everyone depends on me. The whole family comes with all of their needs. And if that's true for you, you might want to take a look at whether you are ending up in a caretaking role. And so caretakers, sometimes it's ego, sometimes it's self-esteem where we want to be needed. It feels good to be needed. And we can foster dependence and we can foster dysfunction when we do things for other people, when those people are perfectly capable of doing those things for themselves. That's often adult children who still keep coming back to their parents, wanting them to fix and make things right. And they need to figure it out for themselves. It's their responsibility. They might take some wrong turns. They might take some knocks, but they will figure it out over time. And then caretakers sometimes neglect themselves by focusing on other people's demands or what they think other people need help solving, and they forget to take care of their own life and their own health. So it's just something to think about, whether that might be an area of growth for you for stress management. When we look at assertive communication, a reminder, aggressive communication is that you're bulldozing, so you're running over the other person. You're really focused on making your point. And then passive communication, you're withdrawing, you're letting other people have their way, and you're not expressing yourself well. Both of those can increase stress. So you really want to work on assertive communication. And that's calmly, confidently, often short, direct sentences, saying your truth. I think, I believe, my perspective is. And you're also, a really important part of assertive communication is the listening. So you're listening to the other person, you're wanting it to be a two-way conversation, and you're asking clarifying questions. So you're really trying to understand the other person accurately. There is more in the booklet. If you're in touch with me by email or phone, I can send you, this has more examples. But let's look at another type of assertive communication, that's saying no on purpose. And so saying no can help to think about what your personal policies are. So these are your rules that are based on your values and your priorities, and they guide your decisions and your actions. And so I'll give you two examples of those. Some are things that you share with other people. For example, you might say, I'm unavailable for work phone calls when I'm on vacation. So your personal policy is that you're setting aside time for vacation for yourself, maybe family, maybe friends, maybe just a mental break from work, whatever it is, that's your priority, that's your value, and you're expressing it and setting that boundary in a healthy way. And then some of your personal policies are self-talk. So it might be something like, I don't say yes to favors that will make me feel grumpy and resentful. So you're not telling the person I'm saying no because that would make me grumpy and resentful, but you're thinking to yourself, you're taking time. If I say yes to this, is that going to be meaningful and fulfilling to me? Is it my true responsibility, or is this really something someone else needs to be doing for themselves? They're just trying to shove it off on me and I'm going to feel grumpy and resentful, or my plate's already full. I'm already contributing in all the ways that I can in this situation. And so I'm going to say no to this because it will exhaust me to say yes to one more thing. So saying no on purpose may be a place that you want to work on for stress management. And then we look at negative self-talk. On the left, you see common negative thought patterns, just a few examples. On the right are examples of what that might look like. So when we overgeneralize, examples, I had a tough day, I'm a loser who can't change. So that's a big thing. From I had a tough day to I'm a loser. It's a big jump. I didn't smoke all day and then I had one. What a waste. So instead of looking at all the successes of the times that you didn't smoke, you're only focused, your selective attention, only focusing on that one time when you had that relapse during that whole day. All or nothing is one of my favorites. If I don't meet my goal today, there's no hope for me. So that's pretty dramatic to go from not meeting your goal for one day to you're never going to be able to do it. But we tend to make those leaps sometimes in our minds. Jumping to conclusions. My friend canceled lunch. I know it's because I still vape. I know everyone thinks I'm weak-willed for taking so long to quit. So that's exhausting to waste energy on mind reading and creating stories that may or may not be true. So waiting until we have the truth, using our assertive communication to talk with people so that we get the true story rather than making up things. And the last one's labeling. I'm a screw up. So labeling ourselves negatively rather than I made a mistake. Because if you make a mistake, there's a place to go. But if you think you're a screw up, that kind of leaves you being stuck. So what can help with this is to switch to positive, or I prefer realistic self-talk. And reframing, we mentioned that in class 2. That's one of the 4 R's for handling cravings, because it gets that executive function, the prefrontal cortex of the brain, fired up, and it calms the amygdala, the stress part of the brain. And this has been shown in clinical studies with MRIs that these simple changes in phrases change the parts of our brain that are functioning, help support us to move towards our goal. So on the left, I can't do this because I don't know how. That's a negative thought. We reframe that. This is a normal challenge, because it is. Quitting nicotine is challenging, and that is so normal. This is a chance for me to learn something new. You remember we said quitting nicotine is not about character or strength or willpower. It's about learning new skills. On the left, the second one, it's too hard. Well, what's another way I could do this? What would I tell a friend in this situation? Again, we tend to be hard on ourselves, so asking how we would support a friend can sometimes help. And then we treat ourselves with that same type of compassion and respect that we would give a friend. There's no way I will ever quit nicotine. So we could reframe that. This is important. I will keep trying. How can I support myself right now? And can be a really powerful question. How can I support myself right now? What do I need to make myself feel better? Because when we do that negative self-talk, we're creating the energy that leads back to using more nicotine. We're increasing stress, increasing cravings. Second to last, I'm tired and frustrated. I'm going to stop trying. So a reframe, this won't last forever. So I'm going to get some rest and start fresh tomorrow. It's fine to take a break, but just remind ourselves, let me take a break, start again. And the last one, I messed up because I'm weak and stupid. Again, that's not what quitting nicotine's about. So reminding ourselves everyone makes mistakes. What can I learn from this one? Relapse, we'll talk about next session. Such a normal part of change. It's really an essential part of change because it gets you stronger. When you relapse, then you know what your challenges are. Then you can make a stronger quit plan. People often relapse multiple times before they figure out all of their challenging situations, all of their new habits, all of their new ways of coping. That's the life work. So sticking with it's really important, and that reframing can help with that. So when we do our guided relaxations, we are stimulating the parasympathetic nervous system. That is the rest and digest. So this is the opposite of what we showed on a previous slide where we looked at the stress response. So here, our breathing slowed, our heart rate, our blood pressure, our blood sugar go down, our digestion is improved, and we have released endorphins, including that dopamine, which is one reason why it can really help with a craving. So there are changes in sizes of parts of the brain when you practice guided relaxation over time, and connections between parts of the brain. So that's brain neuroplasticity. So that neuroplasticity means what we experience over and over affects the structure and the function of the brain. And practicing that guided relaxation in many, many different forms. We're just doing 4 different types during the classes, but there's lots of apps. There's lots of videos out there that can lead you. When we practice those things, we have improvements in self-awareness and compassion, learning and memory, emotional regulation, planning and decision-making, social behavior, resilience, and our sense of well-being improves. And again, these are not just self-report, and these are not just nice ideas. These are clinical studies with brain scans that show these things happen. So action step for this week would be to make a plan for handling stress. Now, you might be ready for this, or you might be still working on your quit plan, but when you're ready, you want to include stress management as part of your quit plan. So getting a solid list of your stress triggers. Again, if there's some easy ones to work around, get rid of that stress or reduce your exposure to it immediately. And then the ones that are trickier, you want to build a plan. Maybe you're doing some problem solving around it. All the things we talked about for positive coping and self-care. Maybe it's communicating with others or yourself, and the breathing and relaxation practices. So again, I can help you talk through this. Zoom, phone, email, if that is helpful. Here is my contact information again, and I can send you a booklet which has this and some additional information so you don't have to memorize everything from this video. And let's do a guided relaxation together. So we've done the fingertip breathing in the first session. We did the tense and release in the second session. This time we're going to rub our hands together once we get going. We're going to start out with that warmth sinking into our eyes, and then we're going to place our hands on our body where we feel the stress the most. We tend to hang on to that excess energy of stress if we're not discharging it and soothing it. So for me, I'll be putting a hand on my chest and a hand on my belly, but that might be your head, it might be your shoulders, wherever you feel, but I'll guide you through that. So feet on the floor, shoulders above the hips, get comfortable, and then soften your gaze in front of you or close your eyes and just feel your breath in your body. You might exaggerate your breathing for a few breath cycles just to really get in touch with it. Relaxing the belly. And then breathe softly, comfortably, easily. Turn your attention to your forehead. Let it soften. A lot of times we hold concentration, stress energy in between the eyebrows. So let that place really be at ease. Your exhales, helping those muscles let go. Soften around the eyes and the cheeks. We often grip our jaw when we're stressed, so let go of gripping tight muscles. Let your bottom teeth float. You might even wiggle your jaw. Next breath out, soften skin of face and scalp even more. Your exhales remind your shoulder blades to melt down the back. Tension drains out of your arms. Knowing the chair will hold you, let go of any extra gripping in the low back, glutes, legs. Let that tension drain down through the soles of your feet. And then we're going to rub our hands together. So depending on how cold your room is or how cold your hands just tend to be in general, and rub them for a shorter or a longer time. You feel like your hands are warm. We'll put them over your eyes. And then let that warmth seep in all around your eyeballs, soothing your eyes. Maybe feeling some gratitude for how much work they do for you all day long. Now call to mind the area or two areas where you tend to hold stress. Could be your forehead, shoulders, chest, belly, low back. And then we'll move our hands to those places. So again, I'm doing chest and belly. You might have your hands on the same spot, or you might have your hands in two different places, whatever's right for you. And you can rub your hands together again if you've lost that warmth. Just feel this comfort of your hands on your body. Offer yourself soothing energy. And imagine that any stress, tension is just melting, softening, dissolving beneath your hands. Feel your breath, feeling safe in your body, knowing that you take care of yourself. And relax your hands in your lap. Palms down can feel comforting. Palms up can feel like a surrendering posture, whichever one feels right for you. And then lean your head towards one side. So gentle stretch of the neck. Shoulders stay relaxed. Shoulder blades melting down the back. Head is heavy. Exhales lengthening, loosening the neck where we often hold excess stress energy. And then chin to the chest. Head feels heavy here. Back of the neck lengthening, loosening, letting go. Letting that stress energy melt away. And then bring your head to the other side. Again, shoulder blades at ease, head is heavy. Then bring your chin to the chest. And then carefully lift it back up. A big breath in, like your whole body can get bigger, fuller. Long breath out, whole body softening, being more at ease. Do that 2 more times, like your whole body can breathe. With that third exhale, you could open your eyes. All right. So be in touch with me if you'd like the booklet, if you'd like to talk through stress or action steps specific to you. And then when you're ready, go on to the 4th Courage to Quit video, which is also the last. All right. Take good care.